Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany. This is the Brittany React Show. And on this show, we talk all things entertainment news and movie news. Today, we are all talking just Disney. There's been a lot of Disney news this week because they've had a terrible week and I guess there's lots to talk about it. The news keeps covering it, so I have lots to talk about, so that's great for me. But also, Bob Iger. He just really keeps talking and talking and talking, and the more he talks, the less people like him. His legacy is going down the drain before our eyes, and I am here to witness it all and tell you all about it because what is going on with him? Also, Elon Musk is, of course, a part of the situation because somehow, some way, if Elon Musk wants to be the center of attention, he will find a way to be a part of every story in the world. Every news story, somehow Elon Musk has to be involved. He is involved in this one, so we're going to talk about that. In fact, we're going to open with it because it's pretty crazy. But how are you guys doing? Hi, Riolin. Hi, Marla the Big Tourist. Hi, Some Person Skywalking. Hi, Star Film Studio. Hi, Nicholas. Hi, Narusasu. Hi, Connor. Hi, Scorpio Shadow. And thank you to each and every one of you who comes to my show every day. I deeply appreciate it. So, Jay says Elon is super annoying. Well, okay, to be fair, I kind of echo his sentiments, what he said today, but it's still not smart. We're going to get into it. So let's just start with the whole Elon mess of it all. So, how is Elon involved in this? Well, there was some big conference going on in New York where a lot of these, I guess, rich CEO types were all congregating together. This is the same event where Bob Iger had made all these comments that we're about to talk about, but also Elon Musk was there, and he had some very choice words for Bob Iger, who was sitting in the audience. Just to give you some context, a bunch of companies, including Disney, have removed their ads from Twitter because there has been some anti-Semitic content on the app. So they're just removing their stuff until that has been dealt with, essentially. But Elon Musk doesn't think that he should have to, moderate his app at all, I guess, even if there is Nazi content or anti-Semitic content. I don't know. I guess he doesn't feel like he needs advertisers because obviously he does. The app is basically broke and like very near bankruptcy. Like this Twitter app is not doing well at all. The last thing he should be doing is chasing away advertisers, but this is what he has to say to Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, who is one of Twitter's advertisers.
Apology tour,
hold on,
if you will.
Want to make sure you guys can hear this loudly and clearly because my jaw dropped. I was like, what in the world?
Apology tour, if you will. This had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger
I hope
today.
they stop.
You hope
Don't advertise.
you don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself.
He told Bob Iger to F himself.
But
He's in the audience.
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
Says hi, Bob.
well, let me ask you then.
I mean, really, I genuinely think Elon Musk must be trying to, tank this app on purpose so that he can file for bankruptcy and get around all the debt he has or something. Because, there's no other explanation for this. He needs advertisers. He needs the money for this app or it will die. And he's just like, oh, I don't need your billions of dollars. I don't care. What is he thinking? Even though I agree, F Bob Iger, and we're about to explain why. I agree with the sentiment with what he's saying, but I just think that it's dumb for him to say it. He needs their money. What do you guys think about this? Jeb just think he gagged him. Okay. Little Joe's animation says he's gagging on the foot he put in his mouth. Okay. I think you guys all just hate Bob Iger so much. You're just like, yeah, go Elon. And I get it. I want to say F Bob Iger too. But what's going to happen to Twitter when there's no more advertisers left on the platform? I think what's going to happen? Who's going to take it over? I guess if it goes to bankruptcy, the banks will just own it. But do we want the banks to own Twitter too? What is his game plan here? I don't understand. Laura B says he's a clown. Yeah, I mean, he's increasingly unhinged these days. Burning Daylighter says Elon should have never been allowed to purchase Twitter. I'm surprised that he's even held on to it this long. I thought something would have happened by now. Ethereal Dragon says, yet before him, they let other post horrible things. Wait, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the Elon post? Sheeta Viper says, what money? Lots of projects have failed lately. That's what I'm saying. He needs the money for Twitter. He needs advertisers to keep this whole place afloat. And he's just like, bye, money. I guess I don't need you. F Bob Iger. And I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah, he's trying to charge users because he's desperate. He's trying to get money out of any of us for any reason. It's just not working out for him. But anyway, I had to start off this stream with this because I think it does set the tone for what we're about to talk about. Again, it was all at this sort of big summit deal conference thing that they were talking about. And this is the same place where Bob Iger decided to just continue putting his foot in his mouth. So what did he say? So the first thing that I want to talk about is that he finally addressed that the criticism that Disney makes too many sequels. This is what he said specifically. Bob Iger said, I don't want to apologize for making sequels. We made too many. We have made too many. That doesn't mean we're not going to continue to make them. We only greenlight a sequel if we think the story is worth telling. Now, here's why I think this first comment that we're going to talk about is complete BS. Because he says they're only going to make a sequel when they have a story worth telling. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but as I tweeted, is the story worth telling in the room with us? What story worth telling have we seen in the past year coming from Disney, especially Disney proper? If anything, we've been just getting lots of like mediocre movies that honestly feel like they didn't need to be made and they were only made for cash grabs. That's been like the main complaint for most Disney movies lately. So what are you talking about? Oh, we only make sequels if we have a story worth telling. We know that's not true. We know that's not true at all. I mean, I've been talking about it pretty much ad nauseum on my channel. That this is not true. Listen to this. How can it be true that Disney only greenlights sequels if they have an actual reason? If they greenlit Toy Story 5, but they said Toy Story 4 was going to be the last one, according to the producers, because I remember them saying this. They said definitively, we see Toy Story 3 as the end of Woody's time with Andy, and we really see this as the completion of Woody's arc and the story of Buzz and Woody. So the producers were saying, yeah, no, guys, we're done. Toy Story 4, that's the end of the Toy Story series. We see this as a completion of their arcs. There's no more story to tell. So why are we getting a Toy Story 5? Oh, I know, because it's a cash grab. And you're desperate for a hit, and you're like, oh, what's a safe brand for us? Toy Story, that never goes wrong. So that's why you greenlit Toy Story 5. It wasn't because you had a story worth telling. No, it's because you saw, oh, we really need a hit, and you think Toy Story is a safe bet. That is the only reason this exists. So this comment here, it just doesn't hold a lot of water. And that's not even the only example, by the way. Not the only example. Because they greenlit Frozen 4. They greenlit Frozen 4 after they just greenlit Frozen 3. They greenlit Frozen 3 only in February of this year, which means they've just barely gotten started on Frozen 3, but they're already greenlighting Frozen 4? So please tell me, Bob Iger, I know he's not watching, but he should be. Please tell me, Bob Iger, please tell me how Frozen 4 has a story worth telling if you don't even know what the story for Frozen 3 is yet. How do you know Frozen 4 needs to be shared with the world if you don't even know what's happening in Frozen 3? So tell me that. Huh? Again, I was actually really excited for Frozen 3 until they announced Frozen 4, because now I'm just thinking, oh, they don't actually have a plan or an idea or a story. These are just cash grabs. So my excitement for Frozen 3 actually decreased when I heard about Frozen 4, because I was just like, oh no, they're just making these forever. Shire Magic says they need that sweet Frozen merch money. Yeah, that's why they're doing it, so they can make more Frozen merch. Not because they have a story worth telling. No. High CN says if Disney doesn't stop soon, we should all prepare for Toy Story 10 and Frozen 7. I think it's coming. Oh, for sure, it's all coming. Angel Barrera, thank you for the super chat. Cough, cough, the straight to video sequels. Again, we are kind of in the straight to video sequel era again, but now it's just like straight to streaming. The stuff that's on streaming, I actually think is like worse than the quality of the stuff that was going straight to VHS back in the day, to be honest. But thank you for the super chat. Scorpio Shadow says, I'm done with Frozen 3 now. I mean, I'm still going to see Frozen 3. I'm curious, but I have to say, like, I now view these movies a little differently. If he hadn't announced Frozen 4 until after at least the third one come out, I would be a little bit more, like, accepting. But it just seems like you only greenlit these movies, again, for the merchandise, for the money, the cash grab. Again, another example. This isn't a sequel, it's a live-action adaptation, but we just had the original Moana come out in 2016, and now we're already getting a live-action reboot? Please tell me how this is a story worth telling again. Only like a few years later, less than 10 years later. Please tell me that this is all just about telling the great story, like just about the love and craft of storytelling. Please tell me, Bob Iger, that redoing a movie you just released at the end of 2016, mind you, at the very end. Please tell me how releasing a movie that just came out like last Tuesday is all about just great storytelling and committing to the story. This is why I think he's full of shit. And everything he says, especially everything I'm about to talk about in this live stream, I'm just like, yeah, sure, whatever you say, Bob. Don't believe you, but whatever you say. Hycian says, why not Moana 2 instead? Why not some more original films? Anais says, I'd rather have more Frozens than live action remakes. True. I mean, if they're gonna go the safe route, I would rather have gone like an actual sequel here instead of a live action remake. But again, I think the only reason we're getting this live action remake here is because of The Rock. I think The Rock made this happen, especially after Black Adam flopped. But anyway, I think he has a lot of gall to come out here and be like, yes, we know we've made a lot of sequels, but we're only doing them when we really feel like we have something good here. And I'm like, that has just been categorically proven false time and time again. We know this statement is BS. So I got a good kick out of this one, honestly. As soon as I read this statement, I was just like, sure, Bob, sure. What do you guys think about this statement here? Little Joe's Animation says the man has admitted that they have made too many sequels in the past. What? I mean, at least he's trying. It's like he wants to almost take blame, but then every time he almost admits maybe he's at fault here, he immediately deflects the blame to someone else. And I'm going to talk about the other people he's trying to blame in a minute. Action Pact says they're only doing a live action Moana because it's one of the most viewed things on Disney Plus. Exactly. Not because they have a good story to tell, but because they can see the viewership on Disney Plus and they know it's really popular. That's why they're doing it. Prototype says, do we have to choose between bad remakes and bad sequels? We have no choice but to choose the lesser of the two evils. Right, Prototype? That's why I'm like, I want something original and good. I know we just had something original with Wish, but it was not good. So if we can get something both original and good, then, maybe we can turn things back around. But that wasn't it. That wasn't the only crazy comment that he made that I definitely disagreed with. Because, oh, by the way, I just wanted to point this out too. I saw this tweet go viral on Twitter recently. It has 21.1 million views. So I just saw it kept popping up on my timeline because people were talking about this one scene, Frollo singing Hellfire from Hunchback of Notre Dame. And it's a lot of people were just saying like, oh, Disney doesn't make stuff like how they used to, how the animation looks incredible, how the lyrics are vile, how It actually seems like it has some emotional weight to it, and it's so true. As I mentioned in my video about why Wish felt so bland, I also talked about Frollo and how he was a much better villain than Magnifico. So I bring this up here just to talk about the fact that I do think people want original stories. I don't think it's all like, oh, selling original stories is too tough. We can't do it. People don't want it. People do. I just think people want something like this. Something like with actual character to it, some personality, an actual evil villain. I think if Disney had made something like this for Wish, I think it probably would have been a lot more popular. So again, I don't buy this whole like, oh, we just gotta do sequels because nothing else isn't doing well. Because you could try Disney, you could try. Angel Barrera, thank you for the super chat. Calling Wish original is a bit of a stretch. That's true. I mean, it's technically an original story in a way that it's original story based off of a lot of other stories, but it's technically an original. Niner Bloomer says Frollo was one of the best villains ever. Wake me up when we get villains and songs of epic proportions like this again. Totally agree. Totally agree. He's a great villain. It's a great song. We don't really get anything like this from anyone, to be honest. Not just Disney. I kind of wish we got more original content like this. Speaking of original content, I do want to point out the next thing Bob Iger said, which is that he did point out that, what I've been talking about, the pandering in their movies, the messaging in their movies. This is what he said. Bob Iger says, creators at Disney Plus have lost sight of what their job should be, entertain first, not messages. He added that the stories infused with positive messages for the world can be great, but that it shouldn't be the primary job. Now, ultimately, I do agree. Like, as I've been saying, I think they've been so bogged down in trying to be so progressive that they've been kind of like misaligning their intentions. Like, they should be focusing on having a good story. They can have a message, a good positive message, sure. But make sure that the story itself is entertaining enough that people don't care or like the message actually goes through. Because if you're making a movie that just feels so preachy and feels so on the nose, you're gonna turn people away who even agree with you. And I feel like that's where Disney has been going. So I'm glad they at least acknowledged that. But here's what I have a problem with this statement. He says that this part here, he adds that the stories infused with positive messages for the world can be great, but it shouldn't be the primary job. I don't think that it should be like, oh, you can't have a good story without a positive message. You can have a message and still be really entertaining. And I bring up the whole original story thing because, again, I love Arcane. It's one of my favorite shows. Arcane is amazing. Arcane, super diverse, has lots of LGBT representation, great art style, super original creative story. This is the kind of thing that I think if Disney really wants to go for something original and really push the envelope of acceptance and, be super progressive, this is the bar. You got to make it at least as good as Arcane so that when people are getting the message, people are at least liking what they're seeing and they're not like, oh my God, Disney, really? Like, Arcane is probably the best example of like, even really hardcore conservatives like Arcane, even though it's super progressive, because the story itself is just so good. That's what I mean when I say they don't have to choose either or. They don't have to say, oh, we don't really need to do the positive messages. That's not our job. You can add the positive messages. Just make sure it's good. Just make sure it's good. Okay? That's all I'm saying. What do you guys think? David E., people do love Arcane. It's very good. João Pedro says, I mean, he's the CEO. This should be on him if it's a problem, shouldn't it? I mean, yes, all of these problems are on him. And I'm getting to the people he's blaming in a minute. But, like, all of this is on him. Scorpio Shadow says, can't wait for the second season for next year. I know, I can't wait for the second season. It's so good. Joshua Munn says, I'm still baffled by why House of Mouse isn't on Disney Plus. I always looked forward to One Saturday Mornings on ABC as a kid just for that show alone. That would have been perfectly as a weekly series. Honestly, they should go back to doing some of their classic shows again. Like you mentioned House of Mouse. I know back in the 90s they had what was that competition show where like they had a lot of pop stars come out of it. They should bring like their classic stuff like that back, honestly. I feel like that kind of nostalgia might do well for them. Another, yes, Nimona. Again, thank you, Scorpio Shadow. Nimona is another original animated series that has really good messages. It has lots of good representation, but for the most part, people didn't care because the movie is actually really good. I feel like Disney just wants to go the lazy route and just pander, which is what the whole South Park special is about. And they're like, but we're pandering so hard. Why isn't our pandering working? And now they're seeing their pandering working with it, and they're like, oh, well, I guess we shouldn't just have positive messages in our movies at all. And I'm just like, that is not at all what we've been saying, or at least what I've been saying. So I'm a little worried that they also got the wrong message here, too, but we'll see. The Embassy Network says the travesty that is the lack of respect shown to House of Mouse from the media is troubling. I do know it used to be a huge show. I honestly never watched it. I think that was, I've never seen it, but I am aware of it. I know it's a big show. Willow Ray says they're also trying to be with the times versus being timeless. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I feel like, especially movies like Strange World do feel very much of today. Like they don't feel timeless in the same way that like some of their older like animated films feel very classic. Again, Anise, that's another good example. Zootopia had strong messages, but Zootopia was also really good. So people were able to like see past it, or even if they didn't notice it, they were just enjoying themselves so much that it wasn't like, you know, an issue at all. I feel like what Disney has done is they've forgotten how to like tell a good story without being preachy and on the nose, and I feel like that is their biggest problem. The only way to fix that is probably just to get new talent. I feel honestly, if you want my genuinely honest, like real opinion, I feel like what's happening, and I don't think this is just a Disney problem. I think this is an entire Western animation problem. I think they're the same type of person that would be, as I've called, a Tumblr brain liberal. Is the exact kind of person that would also be an artist here in America. So we also have, what I think is happening is like a lot of these artists and animators who are working at these companies, specifically Disney and Pixar, I think they are coming from the same school of thought as like Rachel Zegler and all of that, and they feel very strongly that they have to put all of their beliefs and all of what they feel into every single page of what they write, because that's what they believe, and I get it. And I even feel like for the most part it comes from a good place, but I think it is starting to affect the end product a bit. So I understand them addressing it, as I've been talking about they should, but I do wonder if they're gonna go like far in the opposite direction. So we'll see what happens. Again, I don't really buy like what Bob Iger says like just by face value. We'll actually see what he does, not just what he says, but I don't know. I have mixed thoughts on this comment as well. Nintendo Gaming Chair, thank you so much for the super chat. I recommend considering reading article New Disney Movies Wish Could Have Big Ramifications for Kingdom Hearts series by Kotaku. Okay, maybe I should read this. Are they finally going to do something with Kingdom Hearts? Again, if any person from Disney, I know no one is watching, but I'm just saying, if it's true, if any person for Disney was ever watching me, I would just say, like, honestly, if you want to hit, do something with Kingdom Hearts. Do something with Kingdom Hearts, because that I feel like is your biggest chance at a hit, to be honest, especially with the younger generation. RuPaul's Drag Race Superfan, you've been a member for 2 months now. Thank you for being a member for this long and supporting the channel. Any other comments on this before we move on to the next dumb statement that he said? Leo says Bob Iger needs to stop throwing his employees under the bus. Yeah, it also is throwing his employees under the bus, too. He's definitely directly blaming his creators. Again, putting all the blame on someone else, but not on himself, especially since Bob Iger himself, he said several years ago that he wanted to be very progressive and forthright with his messaging. So part of this is on him too. So I don't know why he's putting all the blame on his creators, because he's definitely why all of this kind of got started in the first place. Nicholas, you're funny. Moving on to the next comment that he said. So, oh god, this one, okay. This one is I'm actually really heated about, because I've been telling you guys that Disney/Marvel has been trying to throw the director of the Marvels, Nia Dacosta, under the bus for some time now, and it all started with this Variety article here. Do you guys remember when we had an entire stream that talked about that covered this Variety article that was going over all the problems that Marvel was currently facing? Well, in this same Variety article, there was a source familiar with the situation, which is code for allegedly. I guess I should put allegedly in all of this, because I don't know for sure, but I feel like I'm pretty good at like reading between the lines of media speak. I feel like that's coming from my media studies training. But honestly, what this Variety article came across to me as is, I think there were a lot of people within Marvel who leaked stuff to this Variety article to try to control the narrative on what's happening with Marvel. And one of the things that I think they allegedly did was try to throw Nia Dacosta under the bus for the Marvels underperforming. Because a source close to the familiar with the production says that, according to them, Nia Dacosta left the movie during post-production with only a few months left to go. And so this story kind of went viral. People were talking about it. They were trying to say, like, oh, Nia Dacosta's being super unprofessional. Like, they were very much gearing up to make Nia Dacosta take the fall for the Marvels, even before the Marvels came out. But I think they saw the leaves on the wall. They knew that the movie wasn't going to do well. So I think that's why they were already trying to, like, you know, sow the seeds of, like, doubt for Nia Dacosta here. And it really rubbed me the wrong way. Again, that's why I find so much of their pandering really shallow and annoying. Because when you actually look at Disney's actions in real life, they almost never line up with, like, the progressive values they try to push in their movies. Like, almost never. And this is, like, one huge example here. I know, Brianna, exactly. Brianna just says directors do that all the time. And I'm about to talk about that because James Gunn also left production. In fact, why don't I bring that up right now? Because you're totally right here. Where did I put it? James Gunn and Peter Safran, but James Gunn left Marvel to go work at DC in the middle of post-production for Guardians 3. Now, he still was there to finish the movie, and obviously Nia Dacosta was able to finish her movie, but you don't see so many people talking about freaking James Gunn leaving to go literally work for the competition while he was still making a Marvel movie. Like, he didn't get nearly as much crap for that as Nia Dacosta has been getting for supposedly leaving in the middle of post-production for the Marvels. So that's how I know a lot of this is BS and manufactured, because I truly believe this is coming from inside the house, and they're clearly trying to put all of the blame here on Nia Dacosta. And I'm about to get to Bob Iger's statement in a second. Hycian says, what is it with executives and blaming their employees for everything bad? Well, they don't want to take the blame themselves because I'm pretty sure Bob Iger's fearing for his job at this point. Things are going so bad, he actually should fear for his job. Action Pack says, Nia isn't doing herself any favors with these interviews. She needs better media training. I actually disagree, because here's why. Nia actually explained why she left production, and I think she cleared things up pretty well. This is what she said. Nia Dacosta did not leave during the post-production process of the Marvels, but instead continued working on the film remotely as she had to be in the UK due to work obligations for her next project. This is her exact quote. For me personally, it was that they moved the date of the film 4 different times. They knew the entire time that I had an obligation, a greenlit movie with people who were waiting for me. And I pushed that, and then I pushed it again, and then I pushed it again. Eventually, we all knew that if the Marvels pushes again, I'm not going to be in LA to do the rest of this in person. By the time I left to start prep on my next film, everyone was so clear about what that film was and what we wanted. It really wasn't this dramatic sort of thing people are thinking it is. So I actually think she made a very clear, eloquent statement here, talking about the fact that her and Marvel had an agreement to have the Marvel's production end by a certain date, but because Marvel's meddling and, you know, how they do things with constant reshoots and re-edits and so on and so forth, they kept basically extending the production of the Marvels so that she wasn't able to go work on this other movie she already had an obligation to work on. So it was Disney's fault for creating this conflict of interest, so to speak, because it sounds like this wasn't even supposed to be the case. She only had to go work on this other movie because they kept delaying her film that she was working on because they kept rewriting things and changing things. So again, this sounds like it's, if anything, it's Bob Iger's fault again, or at least Kevin Feige's, not Nia Dacosta's. Nintendo Gaming Chair, thank you so much for the super chat. Should Disney officially announce Carrie, Aqua, and Namine as Disney princesses? I'm not sure who those are. I feel like I should. I feel like maybe that should be an obvious thing, but I actually don't know who those characters are. I'm sorry, Nintendo Gaming Chair. Oh, wait. Are you talking about from, Kingdom Hearts? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, okay. I don't know why I was thinking about something else. I don't know if they would officially do that, to be honest. I don't think they should tie those two brands, in my opinion. But thank you for the super chat. Arvin says she's right. They changed the release time several times. Yes, exactly. Again, it's Marvel's fault for having to delay the project multiple times. I honestly, to be honest, because she made this statement earlier, she said that the Marvels is a Kevin Feige production. To be honest, I don't even see the Marvels as like a Nia Dacosta directed film. I actually see it as a Kevin Feige directed film because I think it's very clear just in the edit that we got that there was obviously lots of studio meddling involved. The movie looks like it went through an editing hack job. All the scenes just feel like they don't really go together. They were just kind of like edited together. Like it looks like the movie literally looks like there was studio meddling involved. Like I don't understand how Bob Iger could then come out here, try to throw Nia Dacosta under the bus yet again, and then try to say that, oh, the reason that the Marvels didn't do so well is because there weren't enough executives on the set to help supervise. He said the Marvels was shot during COVID, so there wasn't enough supervision on set from the execs. And I'm like, no, that is not why the Marvels bombed. That is not why the Marvels bombed at all. First of all, I think it's funny in 2023 he's still trying to blame a movie failing on COVID. Secondly, I don't buy it at all that this movie needed more studio interference to be better. I don't think more studio interference would have made this movie better at all. In fact, I think there was probably a lot of studio interference, which is why Nia Dacosta called it a Kevin Feige production. So again, this stupid statement here that I really hate is just there to defer blame to someone else. And this time it's like, oh, sorry, we didn't have our executives on the set to look after what Nia was doing with the movie. Sorry, it was Nia's bad, really. I feel like this is just so shitty. And also really, like, he can't even see how he played a role in this at all. It's just, wow, Bob, wow. I used to like him, I did, but honestly, not anymore. GA says, sorry. I'm trying to stay on the subject of the Marvels. Rhea Lynn says, the studios make it so obvious when they meddle because the stories always turn to shit. Yeah, I mean, again, one of my biggest critiques for the Marvels, I personally don't think the movie is that good. And the reason why is because it looks like it's just an editing hack job. Really, it is. Like, the story is nonsensical because you could tell that they were just trying to piece together different scenes in the editing room, and none of it actually made any cohesive sense by the end of the film. And that's why I've had a lot of problems with it. So him trying to say, like, oh, if the movie just had more studio interference, we could have fixed it, is just laughable to me. This is obviously not why the Marvels flopped. In fact, I did a whole video talking about why I thought the Marvels flopped. You guys should go check that out. Yeah, some person skywalking. Bob Iger really thinks he's in the right. I can't believe it. Nintendo Gaming Chair, thank you again for the super chat. What do you as a Disney CEO, what you do as Disney CEO than incompetent CEOs? Are you saying he's incompetent? Because I definitely agree with that, for sure. Action Pack says Marvel has always had a lot of studio interference, but it's just gotten worse in recent years. What I feel like what's happening with Marvel is that they don't really understand what's really wrong with their whole universe and why people are turning away. So I have a feeling, especially people like Kevin Feige are starting to like second guess themselves, and that's why they're like changing around things so much, because I don't think they really have a solid plan, and I don't really think they like feel confident about what the fans want anymore. So I think a lot of things are just up in the air, to be honest, and all of it is the executive's fault. Dr. Shonda says, let's leave the storytelling to the creatives, not the business executives. Yeah, I totally agree, couldn't agree more. So the next thing that he mentioned is actually he wanted to also throw freaking Bob Chapek under the bus again. You guys remember the former CEO that was only CEO for like 2 seconds? Really, was he ever fully CEO? There has been so many reports. There was even like a whole Wall Street Journal article talking about the fact that like even though Bob Iger had technically stepped down as CEO, he was still like technically there to like loom over, and like he still had a lot of power and influence at Disney. So I honestly think that everything that they're trying to throw on Bob Chapek as like, oh, Bob Chapek, he's the reason why Disney's failing. I still think we could put all of that blame on Bob Iger, because even though he technically stepped down as CEO, there are so many reports out there that have been saying that he was still technically in charge the whole time anyway. So the fact that he made this comment here, which he said, Bob Iger says he was disappointed in what I was seeing in the transition period and while I was out, talking about when Bob Chapek was running Disney. I worked hard at distracting myself from it. I mean, this is another really BS comment. Talking about how, like, oh, I was just helpless from the sidelines to do anything as Bob Chapek was just ruining the company. And I'm like, what are you talking about? First of all, almost all of Disney's problems that they currently have is due to Disney Plus, and Disney Plus was your idea, Bob Iger, so I don't know why you're pointing fingers at Bob Chapek. Secondly, you were actually not that powerless. You honestly could have done a lot, because apparently, again, according to these other articles here from like the Wall Street Journal, apparently you were still very much behind the scenes manipulating things. So what is this? Oh, you were at the sidelines watching him all, watching this all happen. You were still very much in the thick of things, being a part of the action. So this is a lot of revisionist history here he's trying to throw out there, trying to make it seem like he had nothing to do with any of the actions that Bob Chapek made, when really he had like everything to do with it. So this is another BS statement that I don't fully agree with. Angel Barrera, thank you so much for the super chat. Who besides me can we blame? Really, I mean, really, I guess that's his mindset. He's like, well, I can't blame me, so I guess that's blame Bob Chapek or Nia Dacosta or all of my creators. Just really anyone but me. Some person skywalking says he's the real Disney villain, right? Vincent Hall says Bob Iger deserves to be insulted by Elon Musk after he destroyed Disney. Bob Iger really needs to go. I think in order for Disney to ever be able to make a real turnaround, the first thing that they have to do is get rid of Bob Iger. That is the only way they can ever actually make a comeback. I truly believe he is like the number one issue. But again, they have lots of issues. Really, it's between Bob Iger and David Zaslav for who just really like wants to ruin the industry the most. Because you have David Zaslav, who's the CEO of Warner Brothers here, who's like, I don't care. I'll scrap every film out for a tax write-off. Who cares? He said regarding canceling the Batgirl movie, he said, what content is going to help us win? The content that wasn't, we made a strategic decision on. It was painful and difficult, but it was necessary. Sorry, I'm trying to talk today. I don't know why I can't talk. But basically, he's just trying to say, like, oh, yeah, it was painful and difficult, but we had to do what we had to do. I don't care. We have David Zaslav literally trying to cancel all these projects left and right, like the Acme project, like the freaking Scooby-Doo project, obviously the Batgirl project. Just, we have CEOs in charge who don't seem to actually care about the art of filmmaking, cinema, like the actual product that they make. And they're saying like stuff like this that's only getting more people mad at them and the company and the stuff that they make. And I don't think they have the self-awareness at all to even see it. I think both Bob Iger and David Zaslav are like two sides of the same coin here. They're all like, everyone's the problem but me. I don't get why you're all mad at me. I'm just this sweet little angel who wants to, you know, make the world better and turn the company around. And I'm just like, we don't buy it. We don't buy it. Because this wasn't Bob Chapek's fault. Okay, this wasn't Nia Dacosta's fault. This wasn't any of your other creators' fault. It's your fault, Bob. It's your fault. So, yeah, that's, I guess, my mini rant for this live stream. I guess that wasn't mini at all, though. Whew, that was a lot to say. Elixir says, change the laws that let them do tax write-offs. I'm sick of it. I know, I can't believe that's even legal. Like, how is that legal? I honestly hope that the government gets involved with all of this stuff. Because, honestly, I don't see how it should be legal to just cancel a completed film for a tax write-off. Like, that sounds like almost insurance fraudy to me. Like, that sounds like, oh, let's just burn our studio to the ground so we can collect the insurance money. Like, it's the same kind of thought process, so I don't see how it's not illegal. Hades says things were going well at Warner Brothers. No, they weren't, until Discovery took over. Unfortunately, things were not going well at Warner Brothers even before Discovery took over. I wish I could say, oh yeah, things were going great until David Zaslav came in, but no, unfortunately, that's not true. Amanda Ark says, if Batgirl is trash, let me eat trash. Okay. Oh, you think I should be the CEO? Some person skywalking. Oh, thank you. David E. says, someone in Congress literally compared these tax write-offs to insurance fraud. It is kind of insurance fraud. That's why I'm like, how are they getting away with this? Like, we have all these CEOs in charge of very high places. They clearly just do not know what they're doing, or they're talking out of their ass, or they just have no respect for the creative process or creatives. And they're very proud about it, which is kind of shocking, to be honest. Again, do you guys remember the big Disney Plus day that happened in 2020? This is how we know this is all Bob Iger's fault, by the way. Because there are rumors and reports that apparently Kevin Feige and co. felt pressured by Disney to announce shows that they didn't feel that they were ready to announce. This was way back in 2020 when they announced like a million shows. Like, this is when they announced WandaVision, She-Hulk, like Echo, all of those shows that we got, or actually some of them haven't even come out yet. But this day actually now lives on in infamy, because thinking about all the Disney Plus shows that we've gotten since then, a lot of them haven't worked out. A lot of them haven't worked out. A lot of them either got mixed reception or just like really low viewership. And I think the Disney Plus strategy in general is A, why people got tired of Marvel, and B, partly why the Marvels itself flopped, because the Marvels depended on the whole Disney Plus strategy. You had to watch like 3 Disney Plus shows to get the full picture of what the Marvels was even about before you saw it, and people rejected that. So again, you have to blame Bob Iger and Disney for even like making Marvel announce this stuff if they didn't feel like they were ready to do so in the first place. Oh yes, some person skywalking says, "Where is a droid story?" There's so many shows too that I don't think we're ever gonna see that both Lucasfilm and Marvel announced on this day. Just, I think this day truly will live on in infamy, and it's so funny because like so many fans, if you were a fan online at this time, like this was an exciting time because at that time Marvel still had a lot of hype, and we were getting all these announcements. Like again, we got the announcement for WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Miss Marvel. Like, we got all of these announcements that day. Like, it was a big day, huge day. People were hyped, people were excited. But in hindsight, I really do think that was a huge mistake, and I think they realize it now too. And again, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Actually, Bob Iger, because apparently he and Bob Chapek were the ones that made them even announce all this stuff in the first place. So that's really who we should be pointing the fingers at, I think. Marla the Big Taurus says, the second season of The Mandalorian is still top tier. Unfortunately, they ruined it by bringing Grogu back. I thought the third season of The Mandalorian felt like it was written by someone completely different. Like, the drop-off in quality between season 2 and season 3 of The Mandalorian is just like night and day. Like, what happened? Did Jon Favreau just decide he stopped caring? Like, what happened? I know, points finger aggressively, right? Matthew W. says they need to stop having so many projects and focus on 2 to 3 things, not 8 to 10. Yes! I mean, Bob Iger keeps saying, oh, we're going to focus on quality over quantity. Like, he says this every 6 to 10 business days now, but I don't know. When are we going to see it? When are we actually going to see this quality over quantity strategy that he keeps putting out there? Because we're still getting, stuff like Echo and Wonder Man and Agatha, even though I'm excited for Agatha. Like, do we really need all of that? Like, do we? Do we? Nicholas says the third season was mid and forgettable. That's the worst thing that Star Wars can be, in my opinion. Yeah, again, a lot of Disney stuff, the worst thing I can say about it is just that it's very mid and forgettable. As I've been calling it, the mid-ocalypse. I really think it is. Really, Marvel's best hope is Spider-Man, and Tom Holland is, like, on the fence about it. Tom Holland, according to him, he says he's only willing to return as Spider-Man if it's worth the while of the character, interestingly. He says, we have been actively engaging in talks about what it could potentially look like for a fourth rendition of my character. I cannot speak today. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. But anyway, it sounds like he doesn't want to take on Spider-Man 4 unless they give him a really good script or at least a really good story, which I totally understand. I mean, he's having to go off of, like, No Way Home, and that made almost $2 billion. So I can understand him thinking, like, oh, I don't want to follow that up with something that people don't like or only makes half as much or even less than that. So I get why he's like, no, you guys better, like, give me something good for me to come back. But if he's really on the fence at all, this is bad for them because Marvel desperately needs Spider-Man. He is by far their most popular character. If they can't get him to, like, actually continue on with this series, that would be a major blow to them for sure. I'm sure they're going to make some sort of agreement or come to some sort of agreement and actually make Spider-Man 4. I'm sure it's going to happen. But the fact that he seems like he's only going to return if they give him a good enough reason doesn't really give me a huge amount of confidence, to be honest, that he's, like, super committed to this role. What do you guys think? Brianna Does Art says Tom Holland is nervous, can't blame him. I mean, if you are an actor like Tom Holland who's on the come up, who at least for younger audiences is seen as, like, one of the biggest movie stars today, you are probably, like, thinking about your career, looking at the destruction of what's going on at Marvel and Disney, and you're like, do I really want to be a part of this? I mean, to be fair, I think Spider-Man is so successful, I think he should be safe from all of that, but I can understand why Tom Holland would be nervous to, like, still wanted to be associated with all of this mess in the first place. Oh, you still haven't watched No Way Home? How? The hype was so real. Willow Ray says, well, only if they make it good. I hope it is good. I hope Spider-Man 4 is good. I'm still really hyped for the Spider-Man movies. I love Spider-Man. He's my favorite superhero. So if they make another Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, I will be there day one. I just hope that they do have a good story first. I hope they introduced live-action Miles. Like, if they introduce live-action Miles in Spider-Man 4, that'd be cool. Prototype says, I think Tom is as wise as Iman. What's with the young actors having more sense than the middle-aged CEOs? I think it's because I think the younger actors are probably just more in touch with the people and like what casual audiences want. Whereas I think these execs are way out of touch and have no idea what the people want. So I think that's the issue here. Anise says, older Spider-Man married with a family could be interesting and different, like in the comics and Spider-Verse. I hope they do. Apparently, if they do a Spider-Man 4, they want to age up this character and like put him in college. I would really love that. I would love to see Peter Parker in college. Because to be honest, in the old like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, my favorite part of those are actually like the parts where it's just Peter Parker trying to get by as like a pizza delivery guy or a photographer. Like the very real, like just trying to get by in New York stuff was some of like my favorite parts of the movies. So I hope they bring that kind of element to Spider-Man 4. But any other comments on Bob Iger and any of this Disney stuff before I move on to the member questions? You guys are talking about Static Shock. Joshua Munn says Spider-Man 4 is supposed to be another multiverse movie. They'll reel in everybody that ties into the Sony universe and integrates permanently into the MCU. So don't be surprised if Sony is bought. Oh, I don't think Sony will be bought by Marvel or Disney. I don't think really Disney can buy anything right now. Sorry. Especially not Sony. I can't see that happening. Honestly, I think what's more likely is that Sony decides they don't want Spider-Man to play in the MCU anymore, and they want to do their own like separate Spider-Verse with their awful Madam Web, Craven the Hunter movies. But anyway, gonna get to the member question now. So I asked you guys, what are your thoughts on Bob Iger? Like, do you think he's doing a good job? Why or why not? If you don't, who do you think should replace him? As always, have a lot of good comments here. And thank you all for being a member. Genuinely appreciate the support. The first comment here is from HP93, who says, we need more CEOs who can accept blame and realize that when you're in charge, the buck stops with you. You can't give yourself credit for your subordinates' accomplishments without also accepting the blame when things go wrong. Totally agree. Unless everyone is actively lying to him about everything, he's in charge. It's his fault, and until he accepts that, things won't get better without him in charge. That's probably the most annoying thing about all of these statements, is that he points the finger at a lot of people, but at no point does he ever take any responsibility himself. And I'm like, you are the CEO of this entire company. Anything that goes wrong with the company is automatically your fault, because you are the one in charge. So I think it's reeking of, honestly, narcissism. I think he's like, oh, the problem can't be me. I think it's a little bit narcissistic, not gonna lie. Yeah, rock, paper, scissors, totally agree. I don't think anyone thinks Bob's doing a good job right now. Vobatho says, it's hard for me to comment on someone's job that I know I can never do because I don't have the expertise. It sounds like better delegation and communication would be better. I know regarding the Marvel and Star Wars franchise movies/TV shows, it seems that everything is very disjointed. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, and it hurts story cohesiveness and continuity. I have to imagine that is what it's like working for Disney nowadays. No communication and lack of being on the same page due to everyone waiting for the okay from 1 to 2 people. They need to trust the people they hire, i.e. directors, writers, showrunners, etc., to do their jobs with less social messaging and studio interference, all the while still entrusting them with the overarching narrative/goal of the franchise and company. I totally agree with your statement. Honestly, in all the articles that I've read about like the behind-the-scenes drama about what's going on at Disney, the main issue, it sounds like to me, is just like there's a lot of like bureaucracy and corporate meddling and like people fighting and like people it does sound like honestly the issues are structural within like how the studio system is run over there. So I totally agree with you. I think whoever the new CEO is that comes in is probably going to do what Bob Chapek did and like completely restructure everything. Because that's probably what the company needs at this point. Agerman says, I just want someone who would not have canceled the Owl House, one of the best Disney shows in my opinion, and who could make countless Tinkerbell movies. Tinkerbell Secrets of the Wings is amazing. We need more Tinkerbell movies. Bob Iger can stay if he can follow these rules, but I know he must not stay. Honestly, I'm surprised they haven't done more with Tinkerbell. She is so popular. If they did like a solo Tinkerbell movie, if they actually made it good, it could even do decently just because she's super popular. They should honestly do something with her. Nicholas Wilson says, I don't know who I'd want instead, but I'd strongly argue that with Disney's 100 year being a year of flops and bad faith with the strikers, he needs to go. Yeah, we didn't even talk about all the stuff he said during the strikes. Like, again, he made himself public enemy number one during the strikes, too. Hi, Garrison. Please do not spam the chat. If you spam the chat, I will have to at least temporarily block you. But anyway, getting back to this. Yeah, he said such like awful things about the strikers and his own creative team during the strikes that I don't see how he can ever turn his image around. I think he's permanently like damaged his legacy at this point, which is shocking. Because when he actually stepped down from the company the first time, if he had just retired then and had not come back, I think he would have been remembered as like one of the best CEOs of all time. But since he's come back, it's like he's just been hell-bent on destroying his image, and it's very strange. Cheetah Viper, thank you for being a member, says, as CEO, the buck ends with him. It's his job to put the right people in the right places. As a for-profit company, his first goal should be to make something that will make money. His statements lately are giving me villain vibes, right? He's going to allow anyone else to take the fall in order to stay in power. As far as who can run the company, I think it would be fun to have a relative of Walt Disney running it. You know, Abigail Disney, who is still a living relative of Walt Disney, she has been very critical of Bob Iger. Wouldn't it be like the craziest turn of events if she took over? It will never happen, but wouldn't it be crazy? Someone who grew up with the legacy and who might have the same love the fans do. If not, a relative, my second pick would be Jon Favreau. If he saved The Mandalorian and Iron Man, he might be able to turn the whole thing around. I do like Jon Favreau. I don't know if I want him running the whole company, but I actually would like him, like if they ever did fire Kevin Feige, I could see Jon Favreau like taking over Kevin Feige's position as like head of Marvel. That's what I'd want to see Jon Favreau do, even more than head of Star Wars. I don't know about the whole company just yet, but I could at least see him like as the head of Marvel. Okay, rock, paper, scissors. You also like Tinkerbell. Okay. Yeah, they really should do more with Tinkerbell. But anyway, getting back to this, Alexander Padilla says, hey, Brittany, and I feel the same way about Bob Iger as I do Kathleen Kennedy. Fire these people and disinfect their offices because they're stinking up the company and the brands. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, totally agree with you. I think both Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy have to go. The company cannot even hope to get better if both of them are still in charge and have their jobs. They have to go, both of them. RuPaul's Drag Race superfan says, hey, Brittany, Bob Iger was once a good CEO of Disney. He had done a lot of good for Disney, but the problem with him is he does not know how to take criticism or competition. He does not. That's very true. I mean, he literally has basically brought out every animation studio that will sell to Disney so he can keep Disney at top. He then created Disney Plus, which I am sorry is not a good idea. Honestly, when they launched Disney Plus, I actually thought it was a good idea. I was totally behind it. I was like, yeah, streaming is the future. It makes sense. So I totally get it. But in hindsight, I think maybe Disney Plus was a mistake. Honestly, I think more bad has come out of it than good. Maybe you're right. Maybe Disney Plus was a mistake. Because as much as I love Disney, there is only so much Disney I will watch. Disney is too niche to have its own streaming service. That is why next year Hulu and Disney Plus is turning into one app. So if you have more stuff to watch, he then put politics into his movies, just so when he thought he was running for president, he could show how progressive he is. My opinion is, I have no idea who should be Disney's next CEO. I think Disney should have someone who cares about Disney and who wants it back at its golden age. They need someone who does not want to be a politician, and also the board needs to ban Bob from ever being CEO again, or been able to become CEO in a sneaky way. I love how much you're just like, he needs to be banned forever and he can't come back at all. But yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I think the main requirement for being a good Disney CEO should be like you have to have a passion for Disney. You have to love these movies. You have to know the brand. I think you really do have to love Disney to be like an effective CEO. It's not like any other company. Disney has a very specific brand reputation. And that was all started by Walt Disney. That's why like Walt Disney back in the day used to make sure that he was the face of the company. He would always do those like television specials like talking about Disney and all of that. Like it's a huge like the CEO is actually a huge part of the brand of Disney itself. That's because that's kind of how Walt made it. So you need a very special CEO, and you need a CEO who really loves Disney. And I think Bob Iger maybe used to really love Disney, but I think maybe his passion is gone. Action Pact says Disney Plus should have been a place for archived content, not a place for original content. I totally agree. I told you guys my plan for Disney Plus. If I were to fix Disney Plus, here's what I would do. I would keep it mainly as a place for archived content, as you said, so like the Disney Vault, essentially. And then if you want new content, I still think they should honestly mess around a bit with user-generated content and like let people upload their own videos and shorts. Obviously, it would have to be heavily moderated, but if YouTube can be heavily moderated, they can make Disney Plus heavily moderated too. And even put ads on that stuff too, so like it incentivizes creators like me to want to make content on there. I imagine like instead of going on Disney Plus and watching like the most mid awfully made Disney Plus show, you were like, I don't know, like swiping through shorts or whatever of other Disney creators talking about Disney or something, or maybe talking about the latest Disney movie that was just in theaters. Like maybe that's what you could do. I don't know. Or you could upload your vacation vlogs to Disney World, like as a family. Instead of uploading them to YouTube, upload them to Disney Plus. I feel like that's the kind of thing they should do to me. Like if I were in charge of Disney, I would at least suggest it. Does anyone think that's a good enough idea? No? Or do you think that's a terrible idea? Yeah, exactly, Prototype. I feel like Disney Plus's main competitor is not the other streaming services, it's YouTube and gaming and TikTok. That's who they need to be competing with. In fact, there's a whole story. I had it for WTF News, but I'll mention it. Netflix is gonna allow you to play GTA, like, through their service? See, the executives at Netflix know the future. Didn't I call this earlier in the year? I had a stream way back in the year where I said, I think the future of streaming is like they're all gonna start adding video games to their services. I said this months ago. And so we're already starting to see it because Netflix is adding like the GTA games, and somehow you're going to be able to play it through the Netflix app. So I can totally see like Disney Plus in a few years going the same route, where maybe they start adding games. Maybe they add their own Kingdom Hearts, or they add their own. They have a lot of games with EA. Like maybe they put up like The Sims with that awful Star Wars Land expansion. I don't know, but like they could totally put their own like games up on Disney Plus too. I don't know how they're gonna play it. I don't know. Like I said, it's part of my WTF news, but like we'll see how that goes. Oh, you think it's a terrible idea to put GTA on there? Interesting. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But getting back to this. Did I read this? Okay, M8 says, a great leader is able to admit when they were wrong. and take responsibility, but Bob Iger refuses to. As for who can replace him, admittedly, I'm not very knowledgeable with this type of thing, so I don't know who could be an ideal replacement. Someone who is able to self-reflect, motivate everyone, take responsibility, loves what they're doing, and not just blames everyone would be nice. I know, those seem like very basic requirements, but truly, I know those are very hard qualities to find in one person. Chevron Jr. says, why don't we just sign a petition to get him fired from the company? Okay. Honestly, the guy keeps screwing up time and time again. If there is anyone whom I think could be CEO of Disney, it's Brittany. Oh, you guys are so sweet. That's so sweet of you, Blue Gecko Nerd. Oh, thank you. I don't want the job. I know it's stressful AF. Thank you for suggesting me, but trust me, I don't envy Bob Iger 1 second. I know this job is tough. I do not want that job. I just want someone who's really good at their job to do it. That's who I want to do it. But getting back to this, Me Multilier says, I think this is typical boss behavior. Blame everyone else and pray to God the investors won't go away or ask for a new CEO. Oh, they definitely are. When in actuality, it's the other way around. He is the CEO. He is responsible for the damage to the brand. I don't know who would be a good replacement, but he should go and stop ruining Disney. Totally agree. We're all on the same page. Bob Iger has to go. Star Film Studio, thank you for being a member, says, I don't know, honestly, but here's my opinion. Bob Iger was the CEO of Disney since 2005, but he was a president of Disney in 2000. According to Siri. From 2005 to 2020, he was a good president and a CEO of Disney, but when he came in 2022, he suddenly changed. Maybe he was disappointed because he has to do the work as being a CEO and not president? Is that what you're saying? They decided to get his revenge, but it's probably because of the money, and money is the root of evil. But he is once in a, one, like Walt Disney, didn't make a lot of mistakes and literally didn't care about his animators. Oh, you're saying he's kind of like Walt? Yeah, I mean, Walt has obviously been very much romanticized in just pop culture and history, but yeah, Walt definitely had a dark side to him too. I guess maybe Bob Iger represents the dark and the light side of Walt Disney, true. But let's hope that a new CEO of Disney won't be an asshole. I know, right? Like, all we're asking for is not an asshole. But I don't know, and I won't comment your membership comments because I won't have my membership. Oh, you won't have your membership soon? Oh, I'm sorry about that, Star Film Studio, but thank you for commenting. Eva Connor says, Disney needs a queer creative running it. Howard Ashman resurrected Disney by starting the Renaissance, creatively reinvigorating its stories and making it fun again. We need another Howard Ashman, and they need to be in power. At the very least, they have to be passionate about storytelling to see the big picture and make the right choices. That or an AI CEO. Oh my God. You know what job that AI probably could take and do a better job of? Definitely the job of CEO of Disney. I think at this point, AI could totally do a better job than Bob Iger for sure. But yeah, Howard Ashman, super, super influential for Disney. And what I say to this is I honestly think this is just a huge example of why they need Broadway screenwriters and songwriters to make their music. Because the fact that we have people like Alan Menken and Howard Ashman making the music and like doing all the animation and, turning the whole company around. We need people who actually know what they're doing. If you're going to make music, you need actual Broadway singer-songwriters. If you're going to work with animators, please work with animators who are willing to really put in the time and the work and, not cut corners if they don't have to. We need really good, talented people, just period. I definitely agree with you. We need more Howard Ashmans. I don't think Disney has a single Howard Ashman working for them right now, and that's their entire problem. An AI CEO would be scary, honestly. Have you guys, speaking of AI, have you guys seen on the Spotify Wrapped thing, there's an AI DJ? Have you guys messed around with the AI DJ feature on Spotify? It says your name, and like it knows stuff about you and your listening habits. And I know it's all just like picked up from the algorithm or whatever, but it's very creepy because it feels like the DJ is actually talking to you personally. And I feel like if this is the future of music, oh boy, what are we in for? But anyway, that's a whole separate thing. I was just like, it's just something I discovered yesterday that I'm like, how is all this AI stuff coming out so quickly? How do I already have an AI DJ on my phone? But anyway, yeah, have you guys not seen this? Check on your Spotify. If you go under like your Spotify rap page or whatever, there's a whole feature that says AI DJ. Click on it. It will talk to you. It'll use your name. It's very creepy, but also kind of cool. I don't know. I was messing around with it yesterday, and I was like, oh my god, we are literally living in the future. But anyway, maybe that should have been my WTF news, because it seems like not a lot of you guys knew about this. That's really funny. Yeah, definitely check it out. But getting back to this, Natanya, thank you, Natanya, and thank you for being a moderator. Bob Iger should listen to Anti-Hero by Taylor to realize he's the problem. Sure, maybe he'll listen to Taylor Swift and he'll all be cured. Maybe, I don't know. But thank you for the comment. Arvin Rufy says he needs to sit down. Oh my god. I knew, Arvin, you would bring up the sit down thing. I knew it'd be you. I knew it. I knew it. I don't know how much he did. I don't know how he did. How did he look at the mirror and see a president in himself? Oof. Oof. Okay. When he can't be responsible about a company which had billions, which made billions of movies, which had billion movies every year, and now has none. We need Brittany as the CEO. She loves drama like us. I love how much you guys just love drama too. Purely, I'm here for the mess. I'm here for... I don't know. Honestly, what made me want to start this show, what made me want to start this podcast, is that obviously I have a lot of passion for all of this stuff. I went to school for media because I've always been interesting in like analyzing media trends or whatever. It's always just been like my very specific niche interest. And something that has been so fascinating to me is just seeing how like media trends have changed a lot in recent years, and like how Hollywood is declining and how technology is playing a factor in all of that. It's like the intersection of all of those topics like really fascinate me. So like I made the show to talk about these kind of changing media trends. So that's why I talk about this stuff. And I talk about Disney a lot, A, because I'm a Disney fan, but also B, because Disney is pop culture in a way. They own so many properties. If you want to, analyze pop culture, one of the first things you got to do is talk about Disney. So that's why I talk about this stuff. That's why I made this show. I love drama, and I'm going to continue covering it, as I think the next few years are going to be very interesting for this space, for this industry, for media, for AI. I think it's going to be a wild time, and I will be here chronicling all of it for you guys, so buckle up. But anyway, again, I do have WTF news, as I said. The first one is actually the whole Barbie movie, for some reason, was up on Twitter. It just got taken down, but when I actually had this prepared, it was still up. I even tweeted about it. I think, again, Twitter is going to hell in a handbasket. Because why are they allowing, like, full movies to be up for hours and they're not doing anything about it? That's insane. Like, literally the full Barbie movie was up. And this isn't even the first movie that has been up. There has been, the Mario movie. The Mario movie also had this same thing happen to it earlier this year. I don't know why. Like, people keep leaking full movies to Twitter, and then they stay up for, like, 13 to like, even 24 hours, and you're just like, how is there no one working at this company to monitor this stuff, to take this stuff down when it's up here? Like, this app is falling apart. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. Sorry. Oh, you bookmarked it? Sorry, it's already gone. Even if you bookmarked it, it's already gone. But it's just the fact that it was up here for 13 hours at all. Yes, the full movie prototype, the full movie. It's just like, this app is really going down. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of hilarious in like a drama-filled way, but also kind of sad. It's just a mess, a huge mess. But anyway, the last bit of news, and this is what I've already talked about, is the fact that, yes, 3 GTA games will be available to play on Netflix starting December 14th. So that's in 2 weeks from now. That's not far away at all. Again, I don't know how you're going to be able to play it. Like, what controller are you even going to use? They must be using cloud computing to make this happen. I'm very curious to see if this is going to be a huge success for them. Again, I called this months ago. Didn't I say the future of entertainment and the future of streaming was they're all going to eventually add video games? And Netflix is, of course, the first one to do it. I told you they were going to do it, and they're doing it. So, I don't know. Is anyone going to play the GTA games through Netflix? Is anyone interested in this? I have no idea if it's going to be playable. No idea, but I'm so curious to see how this goes. And if it goes well, I can see them adding other games too. Maybe Netflix, they won't just be a place for movies and shows. Maybe they'll start like also keeping games there too. It is interesting. Okay, you're not into GTA. Okay. Look at all this stuff that's happening before GTA 6 comes out. Like, when are we getting that one? Jared says Disney needs characters that have flaws and act like actual people. Aladdin needed to have faith in Jasmine and stop pretending he was something he wasn't and put Genie's needs first. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Jared. My main issue with why a lot of these movies are mid is that these characters are like so flawless and like they're practically perfect in every way, and that's super boring. But anyway, any other comments on this Netflix thing before we end the stream? Empanada says, who the F plays games on Netflix, bruh? But what if people start to? People don't play games on Netflix now because there aren't currently games on Netflix. But what if people start to? What if this becomes a thing? They certainly want it to. Yeah, I'm curious to see how they'll make this work too. Maybe I should even play it. I don't know. Maybe. But that's the end of my stream today. We had a good conversation, a good discussion. As always, we have a stream tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you are there for the show. Again, it's at 1 p.m. on Fridays, not 4 p.m. That'll be the last stream for the week. I do want to thank you all for coming to the stream today. This was a great I always have a good time talking to you guys, but this was an extra fun stream today just because I got to rant about Bob Iger. And you guys know I love to rant, so yeah, this was fun. Thank you everyone for coming, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at 1. Bye!